Welcome to Never Rewrite. I'm Isaac Askew.
And I'm Jeffrey Sherman, and today we're going to discuss Sonos's disastrous app rewrite. For those who haven't heard, Sonos, which is a smart speaker maker
Mm-hmm.
going back 20 odd years, released a disaster. They did a full rewrite of their app. So, this is the app that controls their entire um,
Suite
smart
of
speaker
speakers. Yeah.
ecosystem. And they did a full rewrite last summer. This would be summer of 2024. And it came out terribly buggy with much less functionality. It sent the stock down 20%,
Mm.
sorry, 25%. It caused the CEO to resign. It is going to
Mm.
make them miss earnings targets. It bricked, I don't think it bricked necessarily some of the devices, but owners could no longer control their devices.
Mm. Good distinction, though.
And it was just a general disaster. And they said they were going to spend, Sonos said they were going to spend 20 million in the next few months, which would be, through the end of the year, trying to get the app up to parity with what they had before.
That is the biggest impact story that we've talked about, I think, so far. That's a huge.
Yeah, it's,
Wow.
let me go back. Yeah, 20 to $30 million, according to Ars Technica. Uh,
How did this happen?
how did this happen? So it seems, first of all, they had decades of unaddressed tech debt. And I read a
Mm-hmm.
few articles in preparation, and Sonos had always been on the front lines of internet devices. And so the early Sonos devices were relatively underpowered by today's standards, and it seemed like they were using a protocol called Universal Plug and Play, which was developed by Microsoft in the early aughts and kind of got
Mm-hmm.
sunset maybe around 2010 or so, or 2015. And they had to continue to keep that in their app. And so they had layered on top of that, they had layered in their own wireless protocol. And then they'd
Mm.
also layered in a clear text wireless protocol so that internally your speakers were having an internal mesh network that they were talking to each other on over plain text, which maybe is okay and maybe is not because based on what the speaker knows. Because if it's sending passwords for Amazon Music or Spotify, not so good. If it's syncing volume, fine.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to get rid of all that. And so Sonos decided that they needed to cut through their three internal ways that they were going to do discovery and networking, as well as the one external. So this is internal to your physical network and house,
Mm-hmm.
as well as external. And reading some articles, Sonos, one of the big problems that they've always had is if if you the homeowner have some internal routers that don't play well with Sonos and their gear, that becomes a problem for Sonos, but it's not something that they can fix. Like they can give you some tips on how to change your router settings and whatnot, but like
Mm.
they can't do anything about your home network setup. And so this has
Right.
always been a problem for them. And so the story goes in 2019, they decided to redo all the connectivity stuff. And that work was going slow. So by 2022, they'd been working on it for 3 years and hadn't released anything, or apparently had not been making incremental progress. And then in 2022, they announced that they were going to totally redo the app. And that was a marketing thing. They were going to make it all new and better.
So they went from a connectivity rewrite to a full app rewrite?
Yes.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
this was an unrelated. Uh, from what I'm reading, it sounds like the two things were unrelated. They were doing a full rewrite of their connectivity layer,
Mm-hmm.
And then, for marketing reasons, they decided to do a full refresh of the app.
At the same time,
Well,
or at
after
similar
the
similar times,
connectivity work had been in progress for 3 years,
and it was still in progress. So
and
now
it's
they
still
had
in
two
progress.
rewrites going.
So they
Wow.
had
Okay.
2 years. So this became musketeering, right? Our
Mm.
concept of you have multiple difficult problems, and if you put them all together, then you get one giant intractable problem. All for one, and one giant mess. And so they had this long going rewrite, and then they had this new app that they're doing for marketing reasons. Like it
Mm-hmm.
was going to look better. It was going to have all new features and do this, that, and the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the two goals didn't line up at all. Like from what I'm hearing, is one of the things that they lost when they released the new app is any applications or connectivity or like NAS. If you've got a home server with millions of CDs that you've recorded, ripped onto MP3, the old system was fine with that because it could just see all the devices on your network. The new system couldn't,
Oof. Okay.
because the new system needed everything to talk to their remote cloud servers. And obviously, your NAS is not going to talk to the remote cloud server because it doesn't know anything about Sonos. And these are the kinds of problems that they were having, but they'd made the decision to go forward, and they'd made the decision to go forward with one release and one app. And so, in the months and weeks leading up to it, there were apparently heated arguments, yelling and screaming,
I can imagine. That's
where the developers were saying, "Don't do it, don't do it, it's not ready, don't do it." And the leadership was saying, "We have to do it. We told the market we were going to do it. If we don't do it, it ruins all of our marketing efforts. It's going to tank the stock. We have to do it."
man. I would be sorry. I I'm almost annoyed for the developers just thinking about it because I can see that playing out too. Like I know exactly that feeling of like, why are you trying to push this thing? As if they wouldn't know that if it screwed up for everybody, that you'd be in an even worse situation. Like, do they just think that developers are just being way too careful and cautious? I guess.
Maybe, like maybe they just didn't understand. I suspect a lot of it was it probably worked fine if you had recent Sonos gear and great networking
Yeah,
stuff, and didn't have this older stuff that they used to support but don't really support anymore.
yeah. It's like it reminds me of like how Internet Explorer was supported by a lot of like you had to for government websites still make sure that your site looked fine on Internet Explorer on this really old version for the longest time before they
Mm-hmm.
finally killed Internet Explorer. Um, but it's one of those you still have to support it, and if you just drop it suddenly and people were relying upon it, what do you think's going to happen? They're going to get
Mm-hmm.
angry. Like if I had the old system and all the shiny new gear, and you're going to force me to upgrade to new stuff, and like just a release will destroy all my like. I'm going to come in home at the end of the day trying to boot up my music and the
Mm-hmm.
new app updates and nothing works. That's infuriating.
Right. If I've got a Sonos speaker in every room of my house, and they're all synchronized and they're all playing music off of my NAS. For those of you who are younger and don't know, NAS is network attached storage.
Hmm.
Uh, and all of a sudden, that doesn't work anymore because you bought one speaker every year for the past 10 years, and now the five oldest ones don't work. Plus, you can't find your MP3s anymore.
Yeah, man.
And
Oof.
that's brutal. It goes back to one of the things that happens a lot in rewrites is it punishes your most loyal customers because they're the ones most likely to have been using those older features that you thought were not important anymore.
Yeah, that's a really good call out too. Because yeah, the longer they're with you, the more they've experienced that legacy code and all those weird if conditions in your code base.
Mm-hmm.
If customer ID equals 52, do this thing, which I've seen before.
Oh, I've
That's
seen that many
that's your
times.
loyal customer.
Yeah,
you know,
customer 52, man. Don't
absolutely.
mess with them.
So they had these heated arguments. They were not listened to. They rolled through
Mm-hmm.
anyway. What's
And they
next?
released anyway,
Hmm.
and they did not have a rollback plan.
Why
So
not?
they were not able to roll back.
Why not?
This is part of,
How
I
many
don't know that
millions
it's
of
part
dollars
of
are
a
they worth?
rewrite so much as just it often happens with a rewrite is you do this big bang cutover, which usually means you upgrade all these things, and now
Hmm.
you can't go back.
Oh, I yikes! I would assume it would be a cutover, but there would just be a swap, from one of the old systems to new systems. Um,
You've upgraded all the devices and told them to communicate over a new messaging platform. Like they went from all this legacy universal plug
yeah.
and play and open protocols to, according to somebody, an encrypted, which is good. Like an encrypted protocol is good,
Mm,
just in general terms. But now it can't talk the old way.
yeah.
Like they turned off the protocols for discovery, which is a big chunk of the problem. They turned off these legacy discovery protocols, and now they can't find each other.
Did they not even like consider old devices? I mean, like I would assume if I had run a large company like this, I would assume that we'd have a couple of those really old devices lying around, and we would ensure that connectivity in those cases still worked. Like, was there just no QA for that device? I guess.
I couldn't find any articles that talked about that. The articles talked that the developers knew this was going to be a disaster,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't talk about. I couldn't find anything that talked about how they made the case that this was going to be a disaster.
Yeah. Jeez.
Um,
Okay.
so that was that's the Sonos full rewrite, and I want to point out that it falls in exactly with the rewrite problems that we talk
Mm-hmm.
about when we talk about rewrites. F. So they decided to do a full rewrite with a big bang release, a single release with a full rewrite instead of incrementally shipping all these features. They'd been at it for years, literally 5 years,
Mm.
on whatever it was supposed to take. It just kept getting bigger and bigger, and as it got bigger and bigger, it took longer and longer. Their UIs, part of the reason that they were such pressure to release is that their UIs had been frozen. So in around 2023 or 20 maybe 2020 when they announced the new version, they froze their UIs to make it easier to free up developer resources and to make it easier for the
Mm.
new version to
The
hit parity. That's
pause.
the pause right
Mm-hmm.
there, the pause. And so that was also adding to the pressure because they've got the pause going.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then when they finally released, they discovered all these edge cases that they'd missed. And in this case, it was dramatically, it knocked millions of dollars off the value of the company. Everybody lost their bonus. The CEO had to resign. Their customers are extremely angry.
Did they end up having any layoffs resulting from this?
I didn't see anything about layoffs yet, but I
I
didn't
was just
search for that
thinking
specifically.
it would
It,
suck for those developers if they called this out and they fought tooth and nail, and then they lose all this money because of this botch thing they were right about, and then they have to get laid off because of lack of resources. That happens too sometimes.
that does happen. I've seen that happen. Uh, and going back to what we preach, right? If they had theses shipped, right? If
Mm-hmm.
they'd incrementally worked from 2019 to reduce reliance on this new protocol, on the old protocols, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not something that needed a giant shiny new app release for. Those are updates that you push out
Yeah.
slowly and with an A/B fashion, and you slowly ramp up the older devices, and you find out what happens, and maybe you can't do it. Maybe you offer split connectivity. If you've got these things and you just have the disclaimer of it's going to degrade your performance or something. But they
Yeah.
didn't do that. They tightly coupled the release of the UI with all the changes to the back end.
That's
and that
baffling to me. Yeah.
but that's very normal. That's musketeering.
Right. I mean, again, what's normal is still baffling.
Yes,
The idea that you would want to tightly couple those things, like, I mean, it's just adding unnecessary risk. Get the UI out separate. Let them operate as an independent team. It's fine. But like wanting to couple that with like connectivity changes and throwing it all in one big update for everybody is like with no rollback plan. It's just like, I mean, they say hindsight's 2020. Maybe I'm not being super fair with it, but I'm sure those developers could see them, driving straight into a brick wall. I feel bad for
yes.
them.
I also feel bad for them. Well, I want to get one on here to talk about it because I would love to ask
Mm.
questions like, why did it get coupled, and why didn't you release some of this stuff incrementally?
Yeah, maybe there's a lot more complexity to this, than we're summarizing. But either way, it was still a
Yes, I'm
failed
certain.
pre-write.
I'm certain there is,
Yeah,
but I'm also certain that from
they
a
could
high
have been done
level,
better. Yeah,
they the project, the idea of doing a single release was doomed.
yeah. Jeez, that's brutal.
It's
And how
brutal.
much did they lose?
It
Twenty
said
five
that
percent of their stock.
I think it's at 25% of their stock, and it caused their sales to drop like a rock. So it wasn't clear how much that's going to hurt them. Um, they were on track to sell $200 million in product, and that probably had a significant impact, negative
Mm.
impact, because especially because it was in summer, and they hadn't gotten it fixed into the fall, which meant that for Christmas people were either going to not buy their stuff, or they're going to buy it, open the box, see that it doesn't work right out of the box the way that they expected it to, put it back in the box and return it.
Yeah, I'm curious to know if they had recent high level, like director level, C level hires, like recent being in the last like 3 years prior to that incident, that didn't understand maybe the historical complexity of some of these problems, the need to support these legacy systems. Because I've seen companies grow so quickly that the new people who come in just don't even get the picture of how they got there to begin with, and they lose a lot of context along the way because it's not taught by the predecessor. So I wonder if something like that may have happened.
Well, I don't think so, but one quote that stood out to me uh, was the statement, they thought they were being bold by approving a full rewrite. The leadership thought,
Bold.
oh, well, this is a big, bold decision. We're going to scrap everything from the last 20 years and we're going to do new, and it's going to be awesome because it's going to be new and fresh. And they thought that this was a big, bold leadership decision.
Hmm.
And rewrites aren't bold. Rewrites are absolutely cowardice and terror.
Go into that. I like this. I like
All
this
right,
drama.
this might be this is really going to blow out our timeline on this episode. But the idea that a rewrite is bold requires you to have a vision that is radical, bold. Right? It's you're making a break with something and you're going to do something new. A
Hmm.
rewrite isn't bold because you're redoing what you already have, but better.
Right.
So right off the bat, if you're going to do a rewrite, you aren't being bold because you're just redoing what you have. If if you've got an app with 20 years of cruft in it and you rewrite it to be beautiful and smooth and great uncrufty code because now it's fresh, that isn't bold.
You just have parity with nicer, newer
Right.
stuff. Yeah.
It's like replacing a 20-year-old car with a new car.
It's still a
Or
car.
let me be more specific.
Yeah.
If you've got a 20-year-old Ford F-150 and you replace it with a new Ford F-150, that was not a bold decision. It may be a great
Yeah.
decision,
I like this analogy.
right? It may be a
Yeah.
great decision, but like you already knew what a Ford F-150 was. You had one that was old and broken down. You replaced it with a new one, and the new one is newer and better because Ford has continued to innovate. Hopefully,
Hmm.
I'm down on car designs of the last 5 years, but that's a totally separate thing. Uh, but like that is not a bold decision, right? If you take your Ford F-150 and you replace it with like a Porsche 911, which is a little tiny sports car, now that's a bold decision. It is almost certainly wrong.
Yeah. Right, but you've
Because
changed the direction of what
but
was
you've changed the
expected.
direction.
Yeah.
You've gone
You've
from
rebranded somehow in a very
right. Well,
different.
you've gone from I need
Yeah.
a reliable car that can haul stuff around to I need a fast car that looks awesome and is fun to drive.
Yeah. And those are two separate types of brands and vehicles and identities, companies.
Right. Neither of those
Yeah.
decisions
Right.
is wrong or
Yeah.
right
I
by
gotcha.
themselves. But like, it's not. One's a bold
Yeah.
decision, one's not. But like, there's a change. There's nothing bold about doing a rewrite.
So how is it cowardly? Where's the cowardice?
The
I want-
cowardice. Well, because you think that you're being, but you haven't made any decisions.
Yeah.
You've put off, like, again, this is where we go back to a rewrite puts all the risk at the end.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And iterative thesis shipping puts the risk somewhat at the beginning, but it spaces it throughout.
Mm-hmm.
If you are being bold and being courageous, you start facing that fear, facing that confrontation right up at the front. If you do a rewrite, you are facing that, you are pushing off that confrontation to the very end. It's like procrastinating on your term paper. That's not.
And therein lies the cowardice. I see.
There's the cowardice.
Mm-hmm.
It's procrastinating. It's lying to yourself and to others that you are doing this thing when you're not. You're doing a whole lot of things, but you're not actually confronting the problem.
And you're kind of celebrating early with your bold decision and direction.
Right, and you've made this bold, you feel like you've made a decision that you're making a bold and courageous decision when actually you've been cowardly.
I like it.
Give you a Wild West analogy. It'd be like if the bad guy comes into town and instead of having the gunfight in the street at 10 paces, you decide that you're going to catch him after he's done rampaging through the town and he's drunk and loaded down with loot. And so you go hide, and then you wait until he's coming out of town after he's already done all the damage.
I love the analogies, man.
My analogy. And like
Very
now
creative.
you're ready to confront him.
That is what Sonos did here.
That is effectively what Sonos did. They waited for all the damage to be done, and then they're like, all right, now I got the drop on you.
Got it.
And then they lost. Because that's the other thing is, if you set up a high stakes confrontation, or any confrontation, you could lose. And if it's a high stakes confrontation where it's like, oh, well, I'm going to do this release, and it better go perfectly or I'm screwed.
Right.
Then
And what a decision to make, knowing the impact you can have and the power you have over all the customers that were loyal to you, over the jobs and bonuses of all the people that you're going to forfeit if you get it wrong. You know, like that's pretty cowardly, yeah, I'd say.
Right. And if you had made that decision at the front and you had lost, right? Like if Sonos had in 2019 tried to push out an update that removed all the things and it failed, and then they rolled back because all they changed was the protocols. They were like, "Oh yeah, we really screwed that up."
Yeah.
And then they wouldn't have tried it again, or they would have
Right.
known what to test for next time.
Yep. Well, that's a hell of a story.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
So never rewrite. Guys.
Yeah, never rewrite. We keep coming back to that. It's like in the name or something. Thank you all for listening. I'm Jeffrey Sherman.
And I'm Isaac Askew, and this is Never Rewrite.